Hello, everybody, and welcome to our September edition of the Nature Connects Us webinar series. Super excited to have you with us today. As you know, it takes just a minute for folks to roll in, so we're going to have just a moment while people get logged into the system. In the meantime, if you don't mind, take a look around inside of your Zoom interface, get familiar with some of the buttons. We've got a chat button down there and a Q&A button down there. Both of those are going to come in handy later on in this session. So make sure you know where to find those. We do have folks rolling in still. So we're excited today. We've got a special guest with us. This is a non-TNC staff member. We've got an outsider, so this is going to be a lot of fun. We have Trish Morris. We actually consider her one of us. She did go through our Oklahoma Conservation Leadership Academy program, and yes, that's a mouthful. We also like to refer to it as OCLA. And she was a participant in the program, and from that, her experience was inspired to start a project at the company whom she works for, which is Ideal Homes.
All right, thanks, Katie. Like you guys were told, so I participated in OCLA. I was part of the initial group that started it out, and then just kind of hung on for a bunch of others, and just enjoyed my time with TNC. So what we're going to talk about today is some of the things that we're doing in our neighborhoods to bring nature to our homeowners and to the surrounding community. I mean, it's an open area, so I mean, people can walk our trails that may not even live in our neighborhoods, and so we want to make those inviting, and then also connect people back to nature as they're in our neighborhoods. So let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things that we learned a lot about in Oklahoma was kind of the plight of our pollinators, and especially the monarch. Oklahoma has become pretty well known for being that center area when they make their way up and when they come back down. Several years we've seen just giant plumes of them come through Oklahoma, and so one of the things I felt like we had started doing was building these butterfly gardens. We have several that were already built in our neighborhoods, but they weren't done purposefully to bring monarchs and other pollinators to our neighborhoods, to kind of help educate people about their numbers and all that stuff. So we started, it's taken about 2 years to really get plant selection nailed down and where we wanted to put them. So I came up with an idea to do almost like a way station corridor. So this actually connects two of our neighborhoods in the city of Norman, called Greenleaf Trails and Trailwoods. And that forms basically a butterfly corridor for them to come through the middle of our neighborhoods and around our walking trails. Next slide. So we started, like I said, we started with about 1,000 feet of pathway, as you can see there in the picture. And we installed various butterfly, I like to call them pods. So we don't have a long garden, but we have pods of gardens along that path. So in Trailwoods, we have 4 of them, and they all have different plants in them. They're not identical by any means, which was one of our goals. And then we went ahead and updated some of the gardens in our neighboring neighborhood to make this corridor. And then the ultimate goal of our project is to actually take the corridor across Tecumseh in the city of Norman. So we'll end up hopefully connecting 3 or 4 neighborhoods with this corridor. Even though we're going over streets and over houses and all that, we still want to provide some kind of path across for the monarchs. And again, like I said, we were already doing these. A lot of people, if you already live in one of our neighborhoods, probably have seen them quite a bit in Greenleaf Trails. But we weren't doing them in a meaningful fashion. So we weren't putting in the milkweed plants at all. We were really focused on the flowering plants that were pretty and didn't maybe host our monarchs. So these are now these hosts, we're putting in the host plants for the monarchs to bring them really into our neighborhoods, and then all the other butterflies that go with that, and pollinators, we're trying to bring them all in as well to get people more educated. Next slide. So like I said, we've created a trail. So this is a Google Earth of our neighborhood. And as you know, Google Earth's a little behind, so this doesn't look quite what we look like. But we currently have altogether 6 beds that are planted. We finished those up in the end of July. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see Trailwoods, which is where we have 4 of our beds currently planted. All of them are, of course, near other bigger trees and also near water, so that the pollinators have places to sleep at night and also get their water and get everything they need. And then we hop the street into Greenleaf Trails, where we have, actually we ended up with an extra bed in there. So we ended up with 7 beds now because we actually planted an extra. The plan will also be here in the fall time to plant another set of beds, just to the east of beds 5 and 6. So we'll have another set there. And then eventually going to the north, hopefully we'll cross Tecumseh and some new development land that we're looking at. So the biggest part and the hardest part, I think, for us was the plant selection. One, it's not always easy to get a hold of some of these monarch plants and pollinator plants, because I think as the word gets out more and more that we are having declining populations, people are starting to actually really care about the monarch population. So sometimes getting a hold of this stuff's a little tough. And I think also the fear of failing on some of this kind of held us back a little bit. We have plants die all the time. We have dead ones right now. But knowing that that's okay, like it's just part of the process of getting to learn what works in your soil, what works with what kind of watering schedule you have. I think the big thing for us always is that we put compost in our beds as our soil amendment. And so learning how often to water, because we tend to overwater because we're scared they're going to die, and then we give them a little too much. So I think the biggest thing is, if you have stuff die, don't beat yourself up, because you can always figure out a better plant. And I think the biggest thing too is to find a local nursery, because they are your best resource, because they're going to know what works well in our soils. And they're also going to know and have plants that are local to us, and not necessarily if you go to a big box. Sometimes they have stuff that's not really, it says it's for Oklahoma, but it's really not. So we really want to make sure that we grab the stuff as locally as possible. And I was super lucky to have a landscaper who just bought into this over at LDT. And he was like my partner in crime. Like, we dug for plants for, I think we probably worked on it for 3 or 4 months trying to find good plants. The day they delivered plants, he sent stuff back because he wasn't happy with them. So it was a big process. Plant selection probably took us the longest out of everything we did. Next slide. So like I said, we used a bunch of resources. It wasn't just, let's just throw this in. I really wanted to try to do as much as I could, and we really wanted to get it right. So again, we used Okies for Monarchs. I've been going to some of their seminars, and everybody over at Team C has been super great. And then just the local zoos have been phenomenal. They have great resources on their websites. They have beautiful butterfly gardens that you can go. I go and like take pictures of the plants with my app and try to figure out what they are. And then also just going to the Oklahoma Proven website has been super helpful, making sure that we're grabbing the right subspecies of plants. Sometimes it tells you a plant, but you really need to dig down a little further and make sure you're getting the right subspecies. And then the Monarch Watch website helped us, with plant selection as well, and also getting us registered as a Monarch way station, so that we're nationally recognized and people know, hey, come here. It's a good chance if you come during migration, you're going to see monarchs. We've already had really great luck with having dragonflies out in in all of our gardens, and we've seen several other species of butterflies. Have seen a couple of little monarchs fluttering in, but not a big wave yet. And like I said, if you're going to hire somebody, find a landscaper that believes in what you're doing. The folks over at LDT were phenomenal. You might also know them as Tony's Tree Plantation before they closed down their retail shop. But they have been absolutely phenomenal to like grab plants, and I changed things on him at the last minute. He's like, I'll find it. I'm going to find it for you. So just know that there's a bunch of people out there that want to make your way station successful. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Next. The other part of our gardens that we felt were super important was to install a little bit of educational signage for the people that visited our gardens. And it's just fun facts about pollinators. So the fact that, 1/3 or you know, a third of our food comes from them, that your, you know, that monarchs only, you know, go to and lay on milkweed. Just little facts that if a homeowner comes in, they're like, well, I want to know about butterflies or pollinators. Here's some fun facts. And maybe they'll take that home and plant their own garden. That's what we would love to see, is that our homeowners would take that and maybe put some milkweed in their front yards and help our corridor even grow beyond what we have put in the ground. So, and then we've also registered all the gardens, like I said, with Monarch Watch, so that we are able to invite people in to see hopefully part of the migration. And then also want to touch on, we do a great thing over Ideal Homes and Neighborhoods. We don't, I mean, our focus is bringing nature in. The butterfly gardens have done that for us recently, but we've always kind of done it. So this is a picture. I just wanted to kind of take you through some of our neighborhoods and just say, you know, this is not new to us. Doing nature in our neighborhoods is not new. This is Red Canyon Ranch. You know, we try to take that nature feel and we try to bring you into it. So a lot of our pathways are brought into natural corridors, and it's pretty awesome. Next slide, Katie. And then again, trailwoods and greenleaf. So a lot of our neighborhoods, you're going to see fishing docks out on our ponds. You're going to see trees in the path. And all these places are full of nature. So our ponds and trailwoods and greenleaf, I was joking with Larissa the other day. I'm like, yeah, I brought my son out here to fish, you know, while I was working, and he ended up fishing. He actually ended up feeding all the turtles French fries because there were so many turtles. We didn't have any fish in Top Pond. So we have turtles, we have snakes, we have bees, we have butterflies, we have, I mean, lizards galore. It's crazy. So these pathways and these ponds really do bring nature, I feel like, to our homeowners. You want to go to the next slide? Keep moving through them. You know, this is Little River Trails, again, bringing the pathways, you know, through the nature. You know, some of our neighborhoods have coyotes that pass through in the evenings. I've had people say, oh, I saw a coyote out near our playground. And you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like they've adapted to us as well as we adapt to them. You know, we understand that there's a lot of negativity when you talk about development and coming into land, but the way we look at it too is a lot of the land we purchase is old farmland that may not be in great condition as land. It may just have a bunch of brush, and the conditions on it aren't great for wildlife or wildflowers. And so we come in, yes, we build a home on it, and yes, we change it, but we also are really focusing on soil health, planting native species of trees and grasses and flowers, so that hopefully as you walk through these trails, you get a little taste of nature, your blood pressure comes down, you get to take your kids or your grandkids out fishing and learn about the fish that live in Oklahoma. So we really are focused on doing a better job of bringing nature into our neighborhoods. If we have one more slide. Yeah. Oh, that's an old, that's a double. And like I said, I'm totally happy to be somebody's resource. If you have questions about, you know, what plants we selected, why we selected them, you know, why we use a specific landscaper, you know, that's my contact information. Feel free to get a hold of me. I will do my best to answer your questions. I'm no expert by any means, but I do know a lot of people that are. So I can always put you in contact with somebody that maybe probably knows more than I do. And, you know, hopefully we can just kind of work together and get some more corridors out there and more nature out around our homes.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Trish. It's an exciting project to learn about. This is the period now where we open it up for questions from our audience. So for the folks who are attending, if you would like to ask Trish a question, she will answer it here live for you in our Nature Connects Us webinar series. And there are two ways to submit a question. You can just chat it in. If you look at the bottom, there should be a chat button. If you don't see a chat button, click on the More button that has the 3 dots, and you'll see chat in that menu. You can type in your question there, or you may see a button that says Q&A. You may click it, and you can enter your question there as well. So you've got 2 different options to send in so that Trish can so that Trish can answer your questions. So right quick, Trish, I wanted to get us started off and see if maybe you could talk to us a little bit more is important so close to home. I think that, as you were discussing this, I thought to myself, man, some of the neighborhoods these days don't really have nature. And then I reflect back on my childhood where I grew up, and we had a lot of nature. We had a creek right behind our house, and I went back and visited that neighborhood a few months ago. It's concreted in, all of the trees are gone, so I just wanted to hear a little bit more from you, from what y'all are learning about that.
So you broke up a tiny bit in the beginning.
I'm sorry. So the question is, can you talk a little bit more about why nature is so important to be so close to home?
Okay. So I feel like a lot of the kids, and we as a group at Ideal Homes and Neighborhoods, feel like the kids today are just so focused on video games and being indoors, and they're afraid to get dirty. And we all look at our childhoods and think, I used to jump in a creek. I used to catch, frogs and fish. And I feel like the only way to make this next generation, and we feel this, all of us at Ideal Homes and Neighborhoods feel this way, to make this next generation really care about what's going on in the world and what's going on with the planet, is to connect them to nature. A lot of people aren't so happy about like zoos and all that stuff. But if you think about why you care about those things, it's because you get to touch and feel it. And it's like, if we could just bring a little bit into our neighborhoods, and let the kids touch and feel it and be part of it, and get dirty and climb in my butterfly garden and dig out a caterpillar, they're going to really care about it, versus if they just go play a video game all day.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We need less screen time for our children. I think it's very important.
Yes.
So right quick, Greg, let's see here. Excuse me, I'm going to answer Randy's question right quick. He's asking, and this will be on our next slide, but I'm going to go ahead and put the link in here for you, Randy. Randy's asking if we have recommended plant sources in Tulsa. Aaron typed in Grog's Green Barn, which is a great one. Also, there's several others in your area, Randy. So if you go to okiesformonarchs.org and you click where to buy, what to plant, there is a button, and it will take you to a list of native plant nurseries throughout the entire state. So thank you for that question, Randy. All right, we've got several more coming in. Here we go, Trish. This is from Aaron Cobb. He says, is Ideal Homes using native plants and pollinator-friendly plants on individual lots and homes?
We are currently not at that point. So this is a new idea just across the company. So we've been experimenting, and a lot of times what happens is we experiment with the plants first out in the land development side, to see if it's going to work. We try to give our homeowners the best plants in their front yard, so we don't want to try to experiment in a front yard that we're not going to be involved in. So right now we're experimenting with plant selection, and then as we get more comfortable using natives and more comfortable with some of the other plants that we're changing our land development side to, those will be rolled into using them in the homes. We've got to get a little more comfortable first.
Super. So I think you answered the second half of his question, which was what are some of those barriers? And like you said, it's more about getting past the experimental stage.
Right.
So, okay. Super. Thank you, Trish. All right. Looks like we have another one here. Krista Askins. Oh, she was just also recommending Grog's Green Barn. Yes. Thank you, Krista. All right. Holly Hunter. We know Holly. Holly's one of our big Okies for Monarchs fans and champions. She does a lot of great things. Thanks for joining us, Holly. She's asking, are there any rules for the homeowners, such as are they allowed to have their own gardens in the front or the backyard, or is there an HOA? How is that governed?
So all our neighborhoods do have an HOA, and they are welcome to have gardens in the front and back. They would just have to, a lot of it would have to follow local jurisdiction as well. So some of our local partners in the cities are not too keen on some of the butterfly plantings, just because it does look a little weedy and it can get out of hand. So the HOAs are going to try to help govern that side of it if it's in the front yard. Obviously the backyards are open for anything, because they're your backyard and nobody's going back there. We would probably ask you to get a hold of the HOA if you live in one of our neighborhoods, and kind of let them know what you're planning, and then they could kind of steer you in the right direction as far as what you should and shouldn't do in your front yard. But like I said, your backyards are pretty open to plantings. As long as you don't disrupt your neighbors too much, I think you're probably safe.
Awesome. Super. Thank you for addressing that, Trish.
Mm-hmm.
Right quick, I was also going to add, just on that topic, one of the items, this is not set in stone, so forgive me if I'm speaking prematurely, but we have been brainstorming with Trish and her team at Ideal Homes on ways to get the individual homeowners more involved. And so we've talked about putting together educational packets that are not only educational about, hey, here's what these trails are about, here's what these way stations are, by the way, you can do this too, and providing them with the brochures as well as free seed packets. So we're exploring that idea, Holly, on ways that we can get the residents even more connected to those projects and bringing it into their own property as well. So Holly also is asking, or excuse me, I'm sorry, I just skipped you, Allie. Let me go back to Allie. Allie is recommending or asking, are there books that we can recommend to help teach children about monarchs and the importance of planting milkweed? So, Trish, you want me to take this one for you?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I don't have any books yet.
It's okay. There are lots of books. There's a few topics here a few different resources, Allie. You can type in literally children book monarch milkweed on the internet and you will get lots. There are some wonderful ones out there. Another option that you can do is on Facebook, type in Okies for Monarchs. If you go to our page and click on the videos tab, we actually have video read-alongs for children that are books. And so each of the books are featured. We did a different video segment for a variety of children's books that are focused on that topic. Also, Allie, another obvious option would be checking with your local library. But if you're wanting to purchase them, if you search online, there are ample resources available for you. Holly is asking, Trish, unlike some builders, you do not take off the topsoil when you build, is that correct?
That is actually incorrect. We do have to take off topsoil. What we do with it though is we typically put it back into the front and backyards of our lots, because topsoil is not a stable material for us to build a home on. We do have to get down past that when we grade out our lots, but we do put the topsoil back to use on our lots in our front and backyards. And we are also talking about experimenting about pulling it off to the side and using it in our common areas instead a little bit more, and trying to improve the soil health. And but unfortunately, yeah, topsoil is just not a stable material for us to put a home on top of.
All right, fabulous. All right, so looks like we might have one more here. Let me go and check it out. Beth is asking, what plants would you start with in the backyard for monarchs?
I mean, obviously, we would start with any kind of milkweed. That is the host plant for our monarch friends. So we always want to have that available to them. We have been playing with sneezeweed, and we've been playing with a little bit of vitex. We've got coneflowers. So there's a lot of options out there. I think the goal, if you're trying to do it, and the goal we're trying to get to, we're obviously still experimenting, is to make sure you have something that flowers all year, pops up in different seasons. And then just keep your milkweed as healthy as you can, so that when they do come and land, they got a place to lay their eggs.
Absolutely. Thank you, Trish. So to help answer that question, Beth, again, if you go to okiesformonarchs.org and click on what to plant, there's several documents you can download. So depending upon where you live, we have 3 regional plant lists that you can download: Eastern, Western, and Central Oklahoma. Additionally, we also have a milkweed guide that is super helpful. I'm not sure if you all know, there are 26 native milkweeds in Oklahoma. So 26 different types of milkweeds that are native to Oklahoma. And those regional guides will tell you which of those milkweeds are specifically for your area. So you might not want to do a milkweed that is specific to the Western zone if you're in Eastern Oklahoma. So it'll help you determine which of those milkweed plants are best for you. There's several other resources on the what to plant page, but that can get you started. And then also that where to buy page will help provide you with a list of a variety of native plant nurseries throughout the state that avoid utilizing the harmful pesticides and also grow native milkweed. So those are great resources. So thank you for that question, Beth. Appreciate it. I think we've answered all the questions, Trish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
I think that we should take a second right quick, and we are going to not necessarily completely meet, but we are going to see a photo. Trish mentioned her son, Hayden.
Oh, yes, there he is.
Oh, he's the cutest. He's the cutest. So we featured Hayden on our Take Action screen here. And so this is kind of reviewing and answering a number of the questions that folks did ask us today. But if you want to take action on this topic, one thing you can do is if you have an HOA, reach out to them. Contact them, start the conversation, attend the next meeting. Hey, where are some opportunities for us to have a community garden? What about having a Monarch way station? So there's a number of opportunities there. If you don't have an HOA, you can contact your municipality, contact them and ask them if you're looking for more of a neighborhood habitat type option. Again, you can always do it in your own front or backyard, as Holly was talking about earlier. And again, okiesformonarchs.org has a variety of resources for you. Then involving kids, like Trish was talking about, how this has literally become an outdoor classroom for her and her son. It's absolutely amazing. I know every morning, the first thing I do every morning and the last thing I do every night is I go out and I check on my caterpillars. So it is an incredible opportunity. Involve the kids. If you do seeds, if you plant seeds, Okies for Monarchs did work with Johnston Seeds, and you'll see the seeds on our website. They're on every page, but you can also purchase seeds, and that's a fun activity with kids because they can go sprinkle them out into the area, and then they get to run around and stomp them in. So there's a lot of fun ways to engage kids, from the educational aspect of it to literally physical activity. So getting out and being immersed in nature. All right. Oh, hang on. It looks like we might have had another question and answer roll in. Oh, Stephanie is asking, have you heard from home buyers that your neighborhood, excuse me, have you heard from home buyers that your neighborhood nature, monarch corridor, and landscaping efforts factor into their decision making to sign on with Ideal Homes?
I have not heard any of that feedback yet. The corridor is pretty new. We just finished it within the last couple of months. So I feel like we do get a lot of other home buyers interested in our neighborhoods because of the nature. But I've never heard somebody say that's the reason why they've bought. But I can definitely check into that and let somebody know if we've got stuff on our website. I don't interact too much on the marketing side. I'm more of the dirt girl, so but I can definitely ask.
Dirt girl, that's your new name, Dirt Morris.
That's what it is. Yep.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that question. I was kind of wondering the same thing. All right, folks. So Trisha, thank you Trish, I don't know why I always say Trisha. Trish, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your story. We do have another webinar coming up for October. This is something new and exciting, everyone. We've never done this before. We're just pushing the envelope this year for 2020, trying to make it entertaining and exciting for everyone. We will be live at the Bison Roundup this year on October 28th at noon. So mark your calendar, sign up, reserve your digital seat. This will be very exciting. Of course, we will have the one and only Harvey Payne with us as we get a tour of the behind the scenes of what happens at the Bison Roundup. So for those of you that do or don't know, the Bison Roundup is it's a closed private event. This is not open to the public, and it never has been. You can't just show up. So this is a very unique experience to get to see it live on our webinar. We hope that you will join us, bring the fam. It'll be a wonderful experience. You will see live animals and you will see cowboys working in action. So we're very excited about that opportunity and hope that you will join us. And again, Trish, thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing everyone in October.